Ethan Cole had spent his entire life in the small Montana town of Brookhaven, a quiet place where neighbors still waved when they passed and where every face was familiar. At 45, he was both a mechanic and a carpenter, running a modest garage that doubled as a workshop. His days were usually filled with the scent of engine oil and fresh-cut wood, the sound of tools clinking against metal, and the occasional country song humming from his old radio. To most people, Ethan was just the dependable guy who could fix anything, but there was a part of him that longed to do more than just repair cars and furniture. It was on a grey, rainy afternoon that Ethan's life shifted in a way he could never have predicted. He was tightening the bolts on an old pickup's engine when he saw movement outside through the rain-speckled window. There, standing at the edge of the driveway, was a boy maybe 10 years old with messy brown hair plastered to his forehead. He wasn't standing on two legs, though. He was balancing awkwardly, hopping slightly, his right pant leg neatly pinned up just above the knee. Ethan frowned, wiping his hands on a rag before stepping outside. The boy looked startled when Ethan approached, as if unsure whether to stay or run. Before Ethan could speak, a woman came hurrying from across the street, her umbrella barely holding back the downpour. She rested a hand on the boy's shoulder. "I'm sorry if he's bothering you," she said breathlessly. "This is Liam." Ethan crouched to meet the boy's gaze, offering a gentle smile. "Not bothering me at all," he replied. Liam's mother explained in a soft voice that her son had lost his leg in an accident 2 years ago, and that they couldn't afford a proper prosthetic. They managed with crutches, but it limited everything: school, play, even walking short distances. Ethan listened, the rain dripping off the brim of his cap, his mind already racing with possibilities. He had seen prosthetics in magazines and on television, but he also knew they were expensive and often out of reach for families like Liam's. As Liam shifted uncomfortably under the weight of their conversation, Ethan's heart tightened. He knew that feeling, the helplessness of wanting something so simple yet completely out of reach. "You like building things?" Ethan asked Liam. The boy nodded shyly. "Well," Ethan said, "maybe I can build you something." He didn't say more, but a spark of hope flickered in Liam's eyes. That night, long after the rain had stopped and the streets had gone quiet, Ethan sat at his workbench in the corner of the garage. A single hanging bulb cast a warm pool of light over the scarred wood surface. He began to sketch, his pencil scratching over paper as he considered every detail. The leg would need to be sturdy but light, adjustable as Liam grew, and comfortable enough for him to wear for hours. Ethan wasn't a prosthetics expert, but he was a problem solver. He knew wood, leather, and metal. He knew how to make things that lasted. And more than anything, he knew he wasn't going to let that boy keep hopping on one leg. For the next several days, Ethan's life fell into a steady rhythm. He worked on customer repairs during the day, smiling politely when people noticed the pile of oak boards stacked in the corner. But every night, after closing the garage doors, he turned his attention to the leg. The oak came from leftover furniture projects, strong, smooth, and polished to prevent splinters. The straps were cut from old leather belts, softened by years of wear. He fashioned a joint at the knee using metal hinges, fine-tuning the movement until it bent naturally. There were mistakes, of course, parts that didn't fit right, hinges that squeaked, straps that were too tight, but Ethan was patient. The work became more than just a project. It became a mission. Ethan found himself thinking about Liam during the day, wondering what games he liked, what it would feel like for him to walk again without crutches. He remembered being a boy himself, running across fields and climbing trees, never imagining what it would be like to have that freedom taken away. Late at night, when his hands were sore from sanding and tightening screws, Ethan would lean back, studying his progress with a quiet satisfaction. He didn't care if no one else ever knew about this. It wasn't about recognition. It was about giving a child a piece of his life back. After nearly a week, The leg was beginning to take shape. It was far from perfect, but there was something beautiful about it, the way the polished oak gleamed under the shop light, the way the leather straps looked both rugged and secure. Ethan tested the knee joint again and again, making sure it could bear weight and move naturally. He even padded the inside with old denim so it would be more comfortable against Liam's skin. The closer it came to completion, the more nervous he felt. What if it didn't work? What if Liam hated it? But Ethan pushed those doubts aside. This was about trying, not about perfection. When the day finally came, Ethan called Liam's mother and asked if they could stop by the shop. The weather had turned clear and crisp, the kind of day that carried the scent of pine in the air. Liam walked in on his crutches, his eyes instantly landing on the polished wooden leg resting on the workbench. Is that for me?" he asked softly. Ethan nodded, a smile tugging at his lips. "Only if you want to try it," he said. Liam's mother helped him to a chair, and together they carefully strapped the leg in place. The moment Liam stood, the shop fell silent. It was shaky at first. His steps were small, uncertain, but each one grew steadier. The sound of the wooden foot tapping against the concrete floor was oddly satisfying. Ethan kept close, ready to catch him if he stumbled. But Liam's grin grew wider with each step. "I'm walking!" he exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief and joy. His mother's eyes shimmered with tears, her hand covering her mouth. "You're not just walking," Ethan said, his own throat tightening. "You're standing tall." And in that small Montana garage, something remarkable had happened. A man with tools and a heart full of determination had given a boy back his freedom. The following week began like any other for Ethan Cole. He was in his garage, the faint scent of oil and sawdust hanging in the air, sanding the leg of a broken chair, when the sound of multiple engines reached his ears. It wasn't the hum of a single pickup truck or a neighbor's old sedan. This was deeper, heavier, like something official, something important. He wiped his hands on his apron, walked to the doorway, and squinted down the street. What he saw next made him freeze. 5 large black SUVs rolled slowly toward his garage, their tinted windows reflecting the cloudy Montana sky. The tires crunched over the gravel road, sending small stones, scattering. Ethan's neighbors peeked from their porches, curious about the unusual scene. These weren't tourists or passing strangers, this was something deliberate. The vehicles stopped in perfect alignment right outside his shop, their engines still, rumbling. The doors opened in near unison, and out stepped men and women in long coats, their polished shoes completely out of place in the dusty small-town street. From the middle SUV, a tall woman emerged. She looked to be in her early 50s, her posture straight, her gaze sharp yet warm. Her dark hair, streaked with grey, was neatly tied back. She walked forward with quiet confidence, a leather folder in her hand. "Mr. Cole?" she asked, her voice carrying a tone of familiarity, as though she already knew him. Ethan nodded, slightly, wary but mostly puzzled. "I'm Dr. Rebecca Hayes," she introduced herself, Director of the National Foundation for Children's Mobility. Ethan blinked, processing her words. I think you've got the wrong guy," he said slowly, wiping his hands again, though they were already clean. She smiled faintly. "No, Mr. Cole. I've got the right one. We heard about what you did for Liam." At the sound of the boy's name, Ethan's guarded stance softened a little. "You built a wooden leg from scratch, didn't you?" she continued, "and you gave it to him without charging a cent." Ethan shrugged, a little embarrassed. "It was just something I could do. Kid needed it." Dr. Hayes stepped closer, lowering her voice just enough for it to feel personal. "You didn't just help one child. You inspired something far bigger." She opened the folder in her hands and showed him a set of documents. They weren't just letters of thanks. They were proposals, grants, and a budget plan. Ethan scanned the first page and felt his stomach tighten. The numbers were staggering. "We want to fund you," she said simply, "fully. We'll cover every tool, every piece of material, every bit of space you need. In return, we'd like you to build prosthetic legs for children across the country." Ethan stared at her, his mind trying to catch up. "This is a lot," he finally said. "I'm just a guy with a small garage." Dr. Hayes' expression didn't change. "That's exactly why we came. You've proven heart matters more than scale, and heart can't be bought, but it can be supported." Her team stood silently behind her, some of them holding clipboards, others simply observing the modest surroundings. Ethan noticed one man glance at his workbench with genuine curiosity, as though trying to picture this small space producing something so life-changing. The offer hung in the air between them. Ethan thought of Liam's smile when he took his first steps with the wooden leg. He thought of the tear-streaked face of Liam's mother, who had hugged him as though he'd given her the world. And then he thought of all the other kids he'd never met who were living each day without the freedom to walk. He realized, almost painfully, how many more Liams there must be. "If I say yes," he said finally, "it means a lot of work." Dr. Hayes's lips curved upward. "It means a lot of lives changed." Inside the garage, Ethan pulled out a stool for her and gestured for her to sit. They talked for nearly an hour, discussing logistics, materials, and the types of designs that could be adapted for children of different ages. She explained that the foundation had tried large-scale manufacturing before, but found that mass production lacked the personal touch, the fitting, the customization, the care that Ethan had given Liam. "We're not looking for quantity," she said. "We're looking for quality, and you've already shown you understand that." By the time they wrapped up the meeting, the documents were signed. Ethan had officially agreed to partner with the foundation. As Dr. Hayes prepared to leave, she turned to him one last time and said, "You may think this started here, in your small-town shop, but it's going to go a lot further than you can imagine." With that, she stepped back into the SUV. The convoy slowly pulled away, leaving Ethan standing in the open doorway, holding the folder against his chest, feeling the weight of both responsibility and hope. Over the next month, everything changed. Large boxes of materials began arriving, lightweight yet durable woods, carbon fiber sheets, specialized joint components, and tools Ethan had never used before. Volunteers came in shifts, some skilled, others simply willing to sand, polish, or paint. The garage, once quiet except for the sound of a single hammer or saw, now buzzed with activity. Word spread quickly, and soon parents began traveling from neighboring towns with their children, hoping Ethan could help. He refused payment from all of them, just as he had with Liam. One afternoon, Liam and his mother returned this time, not for repairs, but to help. Liam, now moving more confidently than ever, handed Ethan a thank-you card he had drawn himself, with a picture of the wooden leg and a big, smiling stick figure. "You made me run again," Liam said, proudly. Ethan knelt down, ruffling the boy's hair, and replied, "No, you did that yourself. I just gave you the tools." It was a simple exchange, but in that moment, Ethan felt the truth of what Dr. Hayes had said. His garage had become something far more than a workshop. Within 6 months, Ethan's work reached beyond Montana. He began shipping custom prosthetic legs to children in remote areas, each one made to fit their exact size and needs. Photos began arriving in the mail, kids running in fields, walking to school, even playing sports for the first time. Each letter and picture went up on a wall in the garage, a growing collage of lives touched by one small act of kindness that had snowballed into a movement. And each time Ethan looked at that wall, he was reminded of the day those black SUVs pulled up, bringing not just an offer, but a chance to change the world.